You ever hear a story that makes you stop for a second and think, wow, we've really got no excuse? This is one of those. So picture this, a 9-year-old kid, small frame, big heart, and somehow a bigger sense of responsibility than most adults walking around today. His name's, let's just call him Caleb for now. He's like any other kid his age in some ways. He likes video games, he rides his bike around the neighborhood, he argues with his older sister about who gets the last popsicle. But for some reason, there's this one thing he just can't ignore. Every time his family drives into the city, he's got his face pressed against the car window. And what he sees out there, people sitting under overpasses, pushing carts filled with everything they own, holding up cardboard signs in the freezing wind, it sticks with him. Most kids would notice for a second and then go back to whatever's on their iPad, but for Caleb, it didn't fade away. One winter, his mom was driving him home from practice, and it was one of those nights where your breath turns to fog the second you open the door. And there it was, a man curled up under a tattered blanket. No shoes, just lying on the sidewalk. Caleb didn't even say anything at first. He just kept looking until they were out of sight. Then, softly, he asked, why doesn't he have a house? Where does he sleep when it rains? His mom tried to explain homelessness in the simplest way you can for a 9-year-old. But you could tell the answer wasn't enough for him. He didn't just want to understand, he wanted to do something. And that's how this whole thing started. The very next day, he went digging through his garage, pulling out scrap wood, leftover nails from his dad's half-finished shelves, even some old paint from when they redid the kitchen. His parents were like, buddy, what's going on? And he just said, totally serious, I'm building a shelter. Now, this wasn't just a little fort like you make out of blankets. Caleb had been watching YouTube videos on tiny homes and how to insulate walls. He had drawings, actual sketches of what he wanted to build. His plan was simple, a small wooden shelter on wheels, so people without a home would at least have somewhere warm and dry to sleep. His dad showed him how to use a saw safely, how to sand down the splinters, how to measure twice before cutting. His mom jumped in with ideas for adding storage and a little fold-out table. And soon, word got around in the neighborhood. People started dropping off plywood, screws, even a decent front door someone had left in their shed for years. It wasn't fast work. He's 9, his arms get tired, his attention wanders, but he kept showing up every day after school. Some days were just an hour of hammering in the cold. Some days were just him and his dad figuring out how to keep rain from leaking in through the corners. And after about 6 weeks, there it was, a small but sturdy wooden shelter, with a lockable door, a little mattress, and a window he found at a thrift store for $8. The first time they delivered it to the homeless outreach team, Caleb stood a few steps back, quietly watching as a man in his 50s stepped inside. You could see him looking around at the walls, touching the little lamp Caleb had fixed to the wall. The man smiled, not in a huge TV commercial way, just this real, slow smile. And you could tell it meant something, and that might have been the end of the story. But it wasn't. Once people heard about this, they started donating money to help Caleb make more shelters. His school got involved. Local businesses sent over insulation foam, heaters, even paint. A construction worker offered to teach him a faster building method. Before long, Caleb wasn't just making one shelter. He was organizing volunteers, making little care packages with blankets and socks to go in each one. What strikes me about this whole thing isn't just the fact that a 9-year-old did it. It's why he did it. No one told him this was his responsibility. No one assigned it as a school project. He just saw something wrong in the world and decided maybe he couldn't fix it all, but he could fix a piece of it. And then he actually followed through. Which, let's be honest, is more than most adults can say when they have big ideas. And you start to think about the ripple effect of this. Who knows how many people are seeing Caleb's story and deciding to get off the sidelines themselves? Some kid in another city might build 10 shelters because they saw that one kid cared enough to try. Some grown-up might finally volunteer at the soup kitchen they've been walking past for years. That's how change actually starts, not with some giant system overhaul overnight, but with these small, stubborn acts of goodness that tell the world, hey, we're not just going to look away. If you've ever driven past someone sleeping on the street and felt that little knot in your stomach, that guilt mixed with helplessness, this is a reminder that you can do something. Maybe you're not building shelters from scratch in your backyard, but you've probably got a way to make life a little better for somebody. Buy them lunch, donate that old sleeping bag sitting in your closet. Give your time to a shelter. It doesn't have to be huge to matter. And maybe the most important part, don't underestimate what young people are capable of. If anything, they're often the ones bold enough to think, why can't I just fix this right now? Before the world teaches them all the reasons why it's too complicated, Caleb's just one kid. But now there are a dozen more shelters out there in his city, keeping people dry and warm through nights that would have been unbearable. Those walls aren't solving homelessness forever, but they're solving it for someone tonight. That's the thing, changing the whole world is overwhelming. Changing someone's world, that's possible. And apparently, if you ask Caleb, it's worth every ounce of effort.